49ers Ultimate Report. This is John Jay, your 49ers reporter, opinionist, analyst, and die-hard fan. Welcome to another episode of the 49ers Ultimate Report, Candlestick Point Report. And you know who's in the building. No more introductions. Let's just bring in our boy, Shifty is in the house. What's up, man?
Yo, yo, yo. How we doing today, John? Another great episode, Candlestick Point Report coming up. A lot of good things to talk about this week
Yes.
compared to last week, so that's always good.
Of course, last week we were all head down. We're like, our season is over. Time to jump ship. But now we won. And just like I said, winning cures everything. And for 1 week, we are up at the top of the mountain. But anything, we can fall back down or we can stay up in for another week. But we got the Carolina Panthers. A lot to talk about that game. But just like we always do, this is now becoming a tradition. It's Thursday. It's Thursday, basically tonight in about 4 hours. Football, and of course, we always going to talk about Thursday night football, the start of Week 5. So I want to get your thoughts on tonight's game. Are you rooting for a team? Do you even care about tonight's game? So I want to get your thoughts before we start the show of Thursday night football.
The only thing I care about in this game is that in my most important fantasy league, I have Jerry Jeudy. So I want him to rack up the yards. But beyond that, I don't care. This game is the Colts and the Broncos, two AFC teams. Really, the star power isn't really there in terms of players. I guess, I mean, if I had to root, I hope DeForest Buckner has a good game for the Colts. But beyond that, it's the Colts are missing Jonathan Taylor. Broncos are missing some players. So it's one of those meh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie. Like the Colts and Broncos have underachieved so far in the first month of football. There's 3 months of football left. Anything can change because I've always said this, and the Colts have the best offensive line in the AFC. They could have the best offensive line in the NFL. And of course, they have one of the best secondaries, in the backfield. And a lot of people do not know, who they are. They're not very big names. And of course, you have Matt Ryan, just like last year. They had Carson Wentz. It was supposed to be a good year for the Colts last year and this year, but they have not lived up to expectations. Maybe the offense is still being meshed. We all know Matt Ryan spent many years with Atlanta. Now he's over here, but I think he's not the same Matt Ryan when he was an MVP. I think he started to decline. And of course, the Denver Broncos, they have underachieved. And I'm sorry to say this because I do have a Broncos fan. I think Russell Wilson this year is more of a transitional year to understand this offense. And Nathaniel Hackett, a lot of people said that he was a quarterback coach of the Packers. So it's so weird that they hired a quarterback coach because they thought they were going to have Aaron Rodgers go over there because the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. So it looks like the Broncos made some very bad mistakes where they brought the wrong coach. Russell Wilson is a great quarterback. People have been calling him a system quarterback lately. So these are two teams who are underachieving. I think tonight one of these teams are going to make a statement. So that's just my thoughts on tonight's game. So that's just my thoughts about that. Let's go to the chat and say hello to everyone in the chat. And we're going to start off with my boy Daniel Berry, the Rams fan. He says, yo, and I'm going to let you know, man, it's not Rams all day. It's Niners all day. So stop taking my lines. But he's going to say it. I know he's going to say it. Brian says, let's go, Niners. What's up, faithful? John J. and Shifty, what's up? And we were talking about Brian earlier. He is the GOAT, right, Shifty? He's the GOAT.
Hell yeah, he is.
All right. What's up, Fialua 60, also known as Soli 684, and I wanted to make an announcement. So apparently, my boy Fialua, and this is a little public service announcement on my channel. Anyone be really careful how you go in the chat. Apparently, someone timed him out. So I just want to give everybody a warning. And we talked about this already. So Everyone just understand, be good in the chat. So Fialua 60, I modded you, so no one will ever time you out ever again. This is disrespectful. I feel disrespected, and I feel bad to my boy Fialua. So I'm taking the full responsibility because Fialua 60 is always welcome in my chat. And I'm so sorry, Shifty, to make the show a little bit, a little sad, but it's disgusting right how some people disrespect the great 49er fans.
Right.
Man, it's so sad. All right, you know this guy, Mr. YTC. He's a Giants fan. So I wanted to ask you a question. Before we talk, the New York Giants, the football team. What are your thoughts about this football team this year? They're 3-1. Did you expect them to be 3-1 early in the year?
No, I don't think so. I'm trying to remember the teams who they played against. They had some tough. I think Tennessee was one of the teams. Like
Yeah.
they've won some good games, and I think it's just a testament to. I think they have a pretty good coaching staff. Brian Daboll, who was with Buffalo last year, I think they made some really good draft picks. Even though I don't think Kayvon Thibodeau has played yet, I think he got hurt. But I think the Giants are moving in the right direction. They have some good players, but I mean, they have a whole mess of a situation with Kenny Galladay. That guy, he's done nothing for them. $72 million and gotten nothing out of it. But yeah, Giants are definitely surprising. So we'll see how far they go. I mean, I think that they're still about a year or two away. Who knows if Daniel Jones is the guy there? But I think they're impressing so far. But we'll see how the rest of the year goes.
Yeah. I want to shout out to the Dolphins fan who's in the building. And of course, Damian Lee. Let's go. Red and gold. Yep, of course. Red and gold, the best colors. And I was talking about this, Shifty. I want to get your thoughts as well. There are 32 NFL franchises. Each team has their personal logos, their color scheme. But I want to know if you agree with me that we have the best color scheme. Who would have thought a bright dark red and the gold color works well together? Because I remember they used to do a series where they would explain why the teams have the color scheme, and one of the historians was saying that it was weird where you put red and gold together, but then when they were out there playing the sun, it gave it like a very wonderful like a royalty type of feeling. Do you agree with that?
I do. I mean, I think the I think the Niners have arguably the best uniforms in football. And of course, anyone is going to say that I'm biased, which I am. I don't care. But I mean, there's some other teams. I think the Steelers, I really like the Steelers uniforms too. This is going to be quite painful to say. This will be controversial. But I think the Raiders have some damn good uniforms too. That black and silver is nice. But I do think the Niners probably have, maybe the best uniform. It's my favorite. Just I think the colors go really well together. But yeah, it's interesting. I actually did a video like when I first started doing YouTube like a year ago about my 5 favorite uniforms. And yeah, I think the Steelers and Niners are probably the top two.
Yeah, that is 100%. And yeah, speaking of the Raiders, my best friend in the whole world since we were kids is a diehard Raider fan. And I don't know if it's just the Bay Area in general, and I don't want to like sound like a homer, but for whatever the reason, like the two Bay Area teams now, unfortunately, they're in Las Vegas. Doesn't make any sense. Their color schemes, the black and silver, really brings out something together. So maybe it's just the people who are from this area are very creative, very I think we're the best out here. No disrespect to the other places. One day I will visit, but at the end of the day, I agree. Yeah, the Raiders, even though I don't like the Raiders, can't stand the Raiders. Their color scheme is really fresh. And here's something funny. Every team in the 90s in the LA area copied the Raiders. They went to that black and silver scheme. Didn't work because it only works for one team. So anyway, let's stop talking about jerseys. Let's talk about what Damian Lee says. We need one more running back. Do you agree with Damian Lee?
Yeah, but we have Mitchell will be coming back probably after the bye week. So to me, I think Jeff Wilson Jr., Tevin Coleman, Marlon Mack, Jordan Mason. Although I wish that Jordan Mason was running back number 2. I wish he got some carries. I think a lot of us do, but it's one of those things where I think right now we're okay. We know Tevin Coleman's familiar with the scheme, so I think right now we're fine. We saw Jeff Wilson Jr. make some nice plays against the Rams. So could we pick up another back? Sure. But, when you think about it with Mitchell and then TDP probably coming back in, a few weeks, then I think we'll be okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, one thing about our team, when it comes to running backs, we got to find a way to keep these running backs healthy because our 1 and 2 running backs were out in the first 2 weeks of. Luckily, Jeff Wilson Jr. has proven that meniscus tear that he had was not as serious, and he's been pounding the ball, running the ball. So hopefully
Yeah.
he can hold on until those guys come back. But we got to start using Jordan Mason as the season goes on because you do not want to wear out another running back because again we're running short on running backs. All right.
Yep.
Yeah, David says it's Niners all damn day. True. Wore out sheep in their boots on Monday night. David's funny. I mean, David is funny. All right. YPC says, I thought the gold was the Niners scheme was to pay homage to the chorus. Yeah, that's the definition of what a 49er is, YTC. But the original colors of the 49ers were not going to be red. They were trying to keep it like a gold and something else. And they chose red for some reason. And the color schemes really work really well together. But that's how the uniforms are. All right. Cardcast is in the building. Shout out to the great Cardcast.
Carcast.
The youngster of the podcast community. Once he finishes school, he'll have a leg up on all the because sports media will change once Cardcast becomes older. It's not what it used to be no more. I don't even watch the sports news channels anymore. Like I stopped. Nope. I watch your channel. I watch, of course, my channel, which is kind of weird. Why am I watching myself? And I watch everybody else's, like on YouTube. It's free. You don't have to pay no money, and you get really good content. So
great content.
Everything's changing. All right. So Carcast says, "Sup guys? Non-football question, non-related football question. Who you guys got tonight? Colts without Jonathan Taylor or the Broncos?" That's a good question. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Shifty?
I'm going to go Broncos. I think we saw the Broncos defense is really good. The Colts don't have their best player in Jonathan Taylor. And it's in Denver. So Colts, short week, having to travel to Denver. We know how the altitude, the Mile High Stadium, that can really mess some players up. So I think it's usually safe to take the home team in these Thursday night games, but I think the Broncos should be able to take it. Although the Broncos themselves just lost Javonte Williams for the year, so I do think that they'll be able to eke out another win, just like they did against us. But I think the Broncos take it.
Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, I'm not sure who's going to win. This is a toss-up, as I mentioned, as we talked about it when the show started. For whatever the reason, these two teams have underperformed. But again, the first 4 weeks of the NFL season, and again, I'm a football traditionalist, and a lot of people don't like that. They wanted the analytics. They want to do this. They want to do that. But football, like any sport, the simple concepts. You got to know how to play a sport. You don't need a computer. Okay, you don't see NFL players today. Basically, they go to a classroom and they learn how to throw a football, or they learn how to run a football, or catch a football, or tackle a player. They don't go on a computer. And I always have these arguments with my own family, my own friends, and the younger generation, for whatever the reason, said analytics, and then my generation, and even the older, just say, when you play football, a computer can't tell you how to tackle. The coach teaches you. Okay, you learn how to do that on the field. Well, it's like the first 4 weeks of the NFL is more of a transitional because starters don't play like they used to. And again, I'm not advocating for the 12 quarters of starters to play. I advocate for the starters to play about 3 to 4 quarters during the preseason so they can get their bodies used to the tackles, the hits, game shape. But unfortunately, It's just everyone, oh, I'm too scared to hurt my players. And what happens? Week 1, week 2, players go down. Okay. You go back 15 years ago, that never happened. That never happened. So anyway, YTC says, I also love our throwbacks versus the Bears. Wonderful. All right, let's get all
Yes,
these comments out the way.
that's a
Niners.
real good point. Very quickly, the Giants, the old Giants uniforms are really nice. And I like the logo, like the Giants on the side of the helmet. That's way better than their current ones. So just want a
Mhm,
quick shout out to YTC.
yeah, cool. Niners better uniforms was the late 90s, early 2000s. Yep. Yeah, from 1994 to like 2007, that uh that like dark red, the power red, the outline with the black outline, and then the gold letters. It was fresh. It was fresh. But then in 2008, they went back to their traditional 1980s, which was like very bland and boring. And since then, we've been using that color scheme, that bland and boring color scheme. No disrespect. All right, Damian Lee says, Shifty, do you notice Robbie Gold missing field goals?
That was a big miss against the Rams. It was 17-9 fourth quarter, and then it was a 42-yard field goal. If it's like a 55-yard field goal, then okay, sure, that's a tough field goal. But 42-yarder for Robbie Gold at home, that should have been a piece of cake right there. And luckily, and we're going to probably talk about this soon. Luckily, Hufanga was able to make a big play. I think it was the very next drive. So, but that was a big critical moment, and Robbie missed it. So, of course, the block against, I can't hold the block against Seattle. Like, that's not his fault. That was Ross Dwelly not doing anything. But yeah, I guess it's a little bit concerning, but hopefully it's nothing to to worry about moving forward.
All right. Always faithful 24/7. Thank you for tuning in again. The 49ers uh, fans, podcasters, and just the community in general, we got really great fans. So there will never be enough content for us. Well, I think we actually have way too much content. So hopefully, and
I
and,
like
and
those
one thing
guys
like
a
I want
lot.
to tell you, Shifty, just like I've told I'm trying to build a coalition. Bring all our channels together on a single banner, so it'll be more easier for the fans to catch us all together because we just have so many content creators. Like I don't even know how many we have now. So,
I like
oh
those
man.
guys. The
Wow,
always
look
faithful.
what Damian Lee said. Go fund me for Rudy's tears. Wow, that's mean. So mean. Rudy told me Rams had injuries. I thought this was football. Oh man, Damian Lee having some fun with Rudy. All right, that's enough with the Rudy questions. We got the Steelers fan in the building. What's up, man? Thanks for tuning in. All right, he's excited for Kenny Pickett. Wonderful.
I
All
wouldn't
right,
be excited. I think
yeah.
he's going to get destroyed against Buffalo.
All right. YTC says, I feel football has a balance of analytics, natural game film, seeing. Yeah. And again, I'm not
Just
saying
kidding,
analytics
Steeler
is
fan.
bad, but the 90% of what you should do should be on the field. Because again, they still have to study the playbook. They got to do things, coaches meetings, things like that. So I agree, but don't put too much on a computer. Like, oh, you guys are inside your 49-yard line. It's 4th and 5. Go for it. No, it's better to punt the ball. Maybe you pin them back, inside the 5-yard line, and your defense has 95 yards to defend that, and the offense of the other team. So analytics is what it is. All right, Sean Mc. All right, Tammy's being funny. All right, Rudy's in the building. There he is. He makes his appearance. He says, CK is working. What's up, John J? Oh man, that's cool. Shout out to Rudy. Oh man. All right, let's get all these questions out the way. The defense looks great as they should playing the Rams. Yep, he's talking about his team. All right, so I apologize. We gotta get all these questions out the way because we got a big show for you. All right, always faithful. That would be really dope. Let's collab. Cool, cool, cool. All right. YTC says, oh, he's talking to Rudy. And then Rudy says, props to the Niner fans. All right. So let's start off the show. And because Rudy's in here, I think this is a good time to
I
start
think so.
talking about what happened Monday night. The 49ers beat the Rams. We gave up no touchdown. And we're gonna talk about the defense in just a moment. But Shifty, what are your thoughts about this 49ers victory against the Rams?
Well, it's amazing what a week can do. Last week, as we were kind of saying, we were, feeling down on ourselves. We lost to the Broncos. The offense can't do anything. And a week later, on top of the division, things are suddenly looking great. All we needed was the Rams to come to town just to get everything fixed, which is usually the case. The defense back to back weeks. And I think now we're finally getting that like respect around like the national media that like this defense is the best in the NFL. Basically, every statistical category, we're number one. And back to back weeks, this defense gave up 9 points on Monday night, 9 points on Sunday Night Football the week before. Let's not forget the safety. I don't think we'll ever forget that, where the Broncos got 2 points. But just absolutely dominating performance by the defense, ridiculously good, or a lot of fun to watch. But, the offense finally, I felt like they were getting some things going a little bit, a couple of plays that I really liked where they didn't even actually yield that much, but it's something that I had mentioned that I think the Niners should try and do is to use Debo as a decoy. And they did that on a couple of plays. One of them ended up, they actually handed the ball to Kyle Juszczyk, got about maybe 8 or 9 yards on a run near the end zone. And another one, it actually was an incomplete pass, but it was a great play design, but the Rams, Jalen Ramsey was just kind of on top of it. But, fake the handoff to Debo. They're going to come back and throw it to Ray McLeod. But, Ramsey read the play pretty well. But it's something that I want to see the Niners do a lot more of because the defense throws so much towards Debo Samuel. But all in all, I mean, it's just a great performance. There's definitely things to clean up. Absolutely. We know Jimmy had some throws that got away from him, but he also made some really nice throws too. So let's give him credit where it's due. He's far from perfect and he never will be, but there's overall, it's night and day because winning that game, not only are we on top of the division now based on the division record, but we have 2 winnable games. No games in the NFL are gimmies, but 2 winnable games coming up the next 2 weeks. And then after that, and this is something that I think, when you really look into our schedule, after these 2 games, Carolina and Atlanta, the Niners team does not have to travel much at all. The only other games that we're going to be traveling to are going to be Mexico City, Las Vegas, Seattle, and I think that might be it. Or the LA Rams on a week, but that's like basically that's a home game for us, anyways. We all know that. So, but but I think
Wow.
the season suddenly is looking a lot better, and I think the schedule is looking great, and it really is, as you said it, John, and you hit the nail on the head. Winning cures all. Last week people talking about get rid of Shanahan, start over, now it's like, oh, okay, the offense is all right. The NFL, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's very easy to overreact and to be emotional when a game doesn't go our way. But at the end of the day, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And yeah, so that's, those are my thoughts on the game. It was dominating, great to see, and great to see Debo as well make some big plays too. So, yeah.
Yep. Damian Lee says the Rams need to play. All right, so I'm gonna let them have fun in the chat. Let's find some 49ers questions. All right, what's up with Rudy? I need to be at the Cowboys. All right, yeah, Damian Lee lives in that enemy territory out there with the Cowboys. Crazy Juice is in the house. He says, Sup, John Jay and Shifty right there. He lives in 49ers territory because, there's no Rams fans out in LA. Oh, man. All right, so Rudy has a question. Is it a red flag that the Niners couldn't stop a cup still, despite the Rams only having Higby besides him, and it was a close game, though? What are your thoughts about Rudy's questions? Like, does he
No,
have
I don't
any
think
valid? Oh, you do?
I don't think it's a red flag at all. I think he was targeted like 19 times in the game. Look, we know Cooper Kupp is arguably the best receiver in football. If you were to target any top receiver 19 times, they're going to get their yards. But he averaged like 8 yards a catch. I thought Deommodore Lenoir was really good. there's a bunch of great plays he made. But Cooper Kupp, when you target him 19 times, yeah, of course he's going to get his yards. That's the big issue with the Rams, is that they only have Kupp and Higbee. Over 2/3 of their passes went to those two guys, and Allen Robinson's been a bust. So with them so far, he's been a joke. But that's not a recipe for success for the Rams. Like, we gave up, Kupp was getting 6 yards here, 10 yards there, 7 yards there. Did it lead to any touchdowns? I mean, it led to a couple of field goals, and that was about it. So, did he have his yards? Sure thing. But did they really mean anything? Not a whole lot.
Yeah. And again, like one thing that the 49ers do have to address is that our wide receivers, for whatever the reason, Cooper Kupp was catching the ball from the 5 yard to the 15-yard window. He wasn't going down the field. He wasn't stretching the field. And for whatever the issue is, the Niners have always had an issue. And I think I'm the only person, maybe, I don't know if you agree with me or anyone in the chat agrees with me, but we always give too much space to receivers. Now, one player who's been doing really good against receiver is Charvarius Ward. There's a reason why he was the best free agent receiver. I know everyone talk about CJ Jackson interceptions. Interceptions are wonderful, when you can get them, but it's always about how well you defend a player. But Emmanuel Moses in our corners, and the Amador Lenore, he had a really good game too, had an outstanding game, but he's the nickel corner. His job is to be on Kupp, and every time Kupp, there was no corner. Like, if ball was a 5 yard, the closest defender was basically 5 yards away from him. So you have to be on him. So yes, I'm going to say Cooper Kupp had a good game. I think he had 12 catches, barely 100 yards, less than 10 yards, a reception, showing you right there by the numbers. The numbers are telling you something different. So at the end of the day, we need to use our slot corner. Like, where's Womack? Why are we not using them? And Lenore, he's good, but he's not Womack. So we got to figure that balance out, what we need to do. And Tyler Higbee, I think, had 8 catches. So basically, like you said, the majority were all Higbee and Kupp. So yeah. So it's not a red flag. It's just dumb mistakes. Dumb mistakes. 100% dumb mistakes. Everyone is saying hello in the chat, which is always great. All right. David says, we played good. We played a good game. Missing our starters, true. Left tackle, yep. Our running backs, facts. Both our starting interior defensive line, facts. And our starting safety and our linebackers. So we had a lot of players who are out, and we still beat the Rams. So 100%. So David brought some good facts and information. All right. Damian Lee says Niners have slot receiver problems at the defense. Also, yeah. So me and him are seeing that. They're seeing. So hopefully they correct that up. All right. Always 49ers says, that's true, John. I think it's apparent. It's a part of Ryan's scheme. Do you agree with that? Maybe that's why
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. There's definitely that, and we hear it all the time now, the bend, don't break. I mean, we really do focus on not giving up the big play. And sometimes that means, the other team will get 5-6 yards an easy pass. But at the end of the day, if we're not giving up touchdowns, the results speak for themselves. We are the number one defense in points given up. So although it's not ideal to be giving up a ton of yards like that way, but at the end of the day, I'm happy with how the defense has performed. So.
Yep. YTC says, with every good pass rushing front seven, you need at least one shutdown corner. Yep. Cool. Charvarius Ward is playing like, yep.
He's playing great, really.
And that's why he got paid $42 million for 3 seasons. So there's a reason why. And I'm shocked at the Chiefs. I'm a little bit shocked, but not because, of course, they did pay a lot of players. And, of course, Patrick Mahomes. But, the Chiefs were dumb not to re-sign this kid. It's good for us.
Great for us. He's been
Let's see
awesome.
what Rudy has to say. Disappointing in Monday's game for sure. But looking at the game, the Rams struggling offense still got in deep scoring position 3 times, but couldn't get 7. When we get vengeance. Hey, Rudy, I like your comments, man. Hey, if you guys get Van Jefferson, and I think we play him in, I think like in a few more weeks, you know.
Here's the
And
thing. I think when it comes to the Rams, and sorry to cut you off there, John, but very quickly, if there's any red flag, is Allen Robinson is the red flag for the Rams. You paid him a big time money. Allen Robinson's a guy who he put up numbers with Mitchell Trubisky and Blake Bortles,
mhm.
but he can't put up numbers with Stafford. Like that's crazy to me. They got to find. If I'm a Rams fan, that's what I'm concerned about.
Oh man, and yeah, that is true, 100% true. Yep. All right, so let's move on to the next topic of the show, and here we go. So, uh, hold on. Yep. All my tickers are wrong today. Yep. All right, so here we go. So, let's talk about this thing. For whatever the reason, the 49ers always have the numbers. And I want to get your thoughts why that is the case. Do you think that Kyle has a special playbook? Do you think McVay just, is just overly confident and the product isn't out there? And again, we could talk about, you know, Rams, having injuries, they don't have their entire team. We could talk about our team not, but for whatever the reason, our offensive line was inexperienced. Our quarterback is not Matthew Stafford, and we always find a way to win. And I wanted to talk about a play, the Debo Samuel, I think the 57-yard or 52-yard touchdown, catch and run touchdown. What was Jalen Ramsey doing? He jumped up, put his hand up in the air, and Debo just caught the ball. And I don't know what he was trying to do. And of course, Ramsey fighting with Brandon Ayuk. I don't know why he was doing that. But I want to get your thoughts why this is happening all the time. Why the Niners, for whatever the reason, have the number or we always dominate them. So I want to get your thoughts on this question, Shifty.
And it's one of those things where, I mean, we definitely have their number in the regular season. And of course, as any Rams fan should, they're going to point out the NFC Championship game. But I don't know, I just think we match up really well with the Rams. Um, it's kind of hard to put your finger on it because the Rams are like objectively speaking, the Rams are a good team. But we just managed to beat them year in and year out in the regular season 7 times in a row. That's absolutely ownage. And I just think that Shanahan's able to draw up things, but also, I mean, it's easy to look at the Shanahan McVay connection, but I think we have to give like big shout outs. D'Amico Ryans, obviously, who's going to be a head coach next year somewhere. And then Robert Saleh before him, they got really good game plans and they were able to play really well. A lot of the times that we beat the Rams, if you look at the score, and the Rams under McVay have traditionally been a pretty high scoring offense. They haven't scored a ton of points against us. So I think as much as people will compare, and for natural reasons, you'll be like, well, Shanahan, McVay, because they used to be on the same coaching staff. But I think it comes down to like the Niners defense just playing so well and the Niners offense making enough plays to win the game where, but other than that, I mean, I'm sure there's like, if you really go into like the details of the analytics and like the play calls and, the schemes and everything, I'm sure there are good reasons for it. But I just think it comes down to like the Niners defense just having a number for whatever reason. The Niners defense just is able to really play against McVay's offense pretty damn well for the most part. And maybe Shanahan, as part of being the head coach, maybe he's kind of sitting in on those defensive meetings and being like, hey, I know this guy. Here's some of his tendencies. So D'Amico, or back in the day when it was Robert Saleh, these are the things you got to watch out for. And maybe that allowed them, to help game plan for that. But it's awesome to beat the Rams so many times. And hopefully this doesn't come back to bite me in the ass. I'm going to knock on wood that it doesn't. But there's the old saying goes, same old sorry Rams.
So Shifty, I don't know if I ever told you, but I am a huge boxing fan. And what Damian Lee just said, I really like. The Rams are Apollo Creed and the Niners are Ivan Drago. Wow. For those who ever saw that movie, this was not a fun scene. And for those who are boxing fans like John Jay, boxing is a sport that's very different. People talk about mixed martial arts is more dangerous, but mixed martial arts, they do protect those fighters the best as possible. Boxing, unfortunately, it's a sad thing in reality that casualties happen in the ring. And for those who don't know this, Apollo Creed back in the Rocky series was, the guy who was training Rocky, and then this guy Ivan Drago, you know, you know, he passed away in the ring. So, but besides that boxing metaphor, that life metaphor, that's why I tell people, you got to watch boxing once in your lifetime. You don't have to be a fan. You don't have to know. You just have to watch it and see, how it is. But basically, it is true. Basically, like we always just knock out the Rams, for whatever the situation. So, I love that. I love that phrase. That's a good one. All right, so let's go back to the regular season, and in the last, as you mentioned, 7 games, 7 games. Uh, since McVay and Shanahan, McVay's only won 3 regular season games. We have won 8 regular season games. So in 11 matchups, we're 8-3. The only reason why in 2018 they swept us, we were hurt. But I think this record would have been much worse if Jimmy did not get hurt in 2018, and the backup quarterbacks were not as horrendous in the 2018 season. So the point of the matter is that Rudy and the Ram fans have only one thing to say. They beat us in that one game. That fourth game that they beat us was the NFC Championship game, which erased everything from there. But regular season wise, people talk about how the Seahawks and Russell Wilson own us. I'm going to admit he did own us. I can make excuses and say that our teams from 2015 to 2018 were so horrendous. So those were basically like 8 victories in a row for them. So at the end of the day, uh, the Seahawks have owned us. So, but when it comes to the Rams, we own them. It doesn't matter the excuses. Wins are more important. Because here's an important stat. Stats don't win Super Bowls. What wins Super Bowls? You beat the other team in the Super Bowl. Wins are more important than stats. So that is a uh, really good. It's good for Niner fans to know that even when we're down and out, when the Rams we play, we're always going to beat them. So that's my thoughts about that. Any final thoughts on the Rams, and the Niners, like why we own them?
Not really why we own them, but I think I was kind of chalking up the week 8 game against the Rams as a probably a loss. I thought the Rams would have been better so far, and maybe they'll get into a rhythm and get things going. But I mean, the one thing when it comes to when I'm like looking ahead to that matchup, the Rams will be coming off a bye week, so they'll have an extra week of rest, of course, and time to prepare for the 49ers. But man, if the 49ers can win that game, that would be, I mean, for the division, what that could mean for the division is like the ramifications could be massive. So it's really going to be interesting to see how that matchup goes when we see him again, because that we were fired up to get revenge for the NFC Championship game. So the Rams are going to give us their best shot coming off the bye week, and then revenge for, although the score was pretty close for a lot of the game, but I mean, if you like watching it, it was like it wasn't really that close. It felt like we should have been up by a lot more, but I think yeah, the Niners, if we can beat them in week 8 too, that would be that's that's going to be like significant for the NFC West this year.
Mm-hmm. Crazy Jew says, "Nah, the Niners are Rocky Balboa." Oh man, I want to salute my great friend out from Hawaii. Aloha, mahalo. And I don't know if you have noticed, Fialua, but you are now modded. For those who do not know, right there, your name is highlighted, and there's a little wrench. So Fialua will not be. Those troublemakers will not mess with Fialua, and I want to apologize to Fialua. So I will make sure to tell everyone that I know to stop timing out my fans for whatever the reason. Everyone has opinions, and Fialua, Brian, and many others have disagreed with me on my channel. I don't time nobody out for someone having their personal opinions. I have my personal opinions. People time me out. I actually take it as a badge of honor for people who time me out because, you know, It's just a good reminder. But shout out to Fialua 60 in the house. All right, Damian Lee. I wanted to save this for last. John Jay's speech was better than Lincoln in 1863. I appreciate that. I don't know what I said. I forgot what I said. All right, so that's some good stuff. Let's continue to move right along. So we talked about, all right, here we go. Now we get to talk about this question. How good is the 49ers defense? Are they the best defense in the NFL? I already have my answer, but I want to know what Shifty has to say.
I mean, I think it has to be, the best in the NFL. Like I mean, you could make an argument for the Buffalo Bills, but to me, in almost every, meaningful category, the Niners are on top of the defensive categories statistically. But not only that, think about this. Two guys coming back to practice this week. Oh yeah, Jimmy Ward and Jason Verrett. So that's going to be a huge boost to a secondary that's already playing really, really good. Jimmy Ward jokingly said, I think was it yesterday, that he's like, well, they don't even need me. That's how good they've been playing. But so the defense should get potentially better. Now, I think a big story that's going to be, moving forward is hopefully that Armstead and Kinlaw will be okay. And they'll be able to come back, whether it's this week or next week. But man, this defense has just been fantastic. I have the utmost confidence in this defense. And the biggest change to me is the fact that the secondary is so much better. Adding Charvarius Ward has been huge. Like you can't understate how big of a signing that is when we compare it to last season. Like when I see like single coverage Charvarius Ward on basically any receiver, same with Mosley, I'm like, okay, I feel like pretty good about this. And you can see it in the play calling too from D'Amico. He's happy to blitz a lot more because he knows the guys can hold up in coverage. So, yeah, this defense, and we played against some decent offenses. I think we're going to be tested, of course, especially when we play the Kansas City Chiefs and the Chargers later in the year. But right now, it's looking like the best defense in football, and it's us in Buffalo. I think it's pretty close, and I think Philly are playing pretty good too. But yeah, I mean, to me, and like people can disagree with me if they want, but I'm like, I think the stats and the numbers speak for themselves. It is the best defense in the NFL.
Yeah, so yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree with that. So I saw something today which the NFL got wrong. The NFL got wrong. There is I think it's on Twitter or Instagram or on Facebook, but it's on the social media, and everyone's gonna go find it once I say the Niners scoring defense. They have allowed 46 points, which is wrong. Which is wrong. Let's talk about week 2. That 7 points was because our kicker decided to take his sweet time, run up the very slowly and miss the kick. The ball got batted away. We had no one down the field, so that was going to happen. So let's take away those points. So let's really do the math and see how many points we actually did. So week 1, we should not have given up 19 points to the Bears. We should not. Okay. The defense got tired at the end of the game. We can blame the rain, whatever. Okay. So that's 19 points. Week 2, 0 points. The defense, not the special teams, defense. So in 2 games, 19 points. When we go to Denver, we give up 11 points, and then we gave up 9 points. So we've given up 39 points. Let's divide that by 4 games. The 49ers are averaging less than 10 points allowed per game. Okay. This is a Super Bowl defense. Let's talk about the players who are not there. Armstead, hopefully, when he's 100% healthy, will anchor the middle. Hopefully, when Kinlaw's 100%, they anchor the middle. Ebukam has been playing as good as he can get. And of course, Nick Bosa. We need to stop talking about Nick Bosa because Nick Bosa, that defensive line is good. Aziz was not there. Once Aziz comes back, Warner and Greenlaw, front 7, best front 7 in the NFL. You talked about it, Charvarius Ward. He's only had in 4 games, I think like 11 catches and about 17 targets. Has a 45% passer rating. So he's doing a good job. He's earning his big millions. Once Jimmy Ward comes back with Talanoa Ufunga, oh my goodness. And then Emmanuel Mosley needs to know he never gets burned, but he always leaves a 10-yard window. So the receivers catch it and he has to run forward. While he's running forward, the receivers are getting extra yards. He needs to work on being on and not worry if he gets burned a little bit because he has Jimmy Ward and Ufunga behind him. So I think if he fixes up again, this is the best defense. This is a Super Bowl defense. Here's the problem. Our offensive line needs to get better each week. Jimmy needs to be very careful, and then this team can run the table. Can we go to the Super Bowl this year? Defense wins championships. We have the formula. We have a Super Bowl team right now. The question is going to be on the offensive side of the ball. So that's my thought, my opinions. Like I said, I already knew this answer. This is a Super Bowl defense, not a number one defense, a Super Bowl defense. So that's my thoughts about the defense. All right.
I agree. I agree 100% with you, John. And that's something that you mentioned a little bit too, but it's something that I forgot to mention is even compared to last year, I think a huge difference is Hufanga. I was a bigger fan of Jaquaski Tart than other people, but I was saying that we probably should have brought him back. Maybe Hufanga's not ready. And I am happy to be dead wrong about that because Hufanga's been ridiculously good. He's been amazing. And that's been a huge difference for our team, those big plays. So, yeah, you're totally right.
Mm-hmm. Fialua says, best defense in the NFL we'll ever see. Maybe the best defense of all time. Ooh, what do you think about Fialua? He says, could this defense be one of the best defense of all time?
I don't know about that because everyone remembers. We all know about the '85 Bears. That was a good one. The Ravens in the early 2000s, but it's still early to say. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of games. There's a lot of good offensive teams that we're going to be playing against. So, but is the potential there? I think so. I don't see why not. And the other thing too is that I think that we have the best defensive coordinator in the NFL as well. So, everything is lining up. I just really hope that the guys can stay healthy, especially the key players throughout the year. If that happens, then I don't see why it couldn't go down as one of those defenses that gets talked about in, 15 years time from now.
All right. Crazy juice. If I have compared the Niners and the Lambs to punch out characters, I see Lambs are Glass Joe. Don't know what that means. And Niners are our Little Mac. So I don't know what that means. You know what this means?
Yeah, it was an old, I think it was a Nintendo game or Super Nintendo. It was like a little boxing Nintendo game. But the Glass Joe was like the guy who you'd knock him out real easy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so that's what it's called. Again, I'm not a video game person. So, like I said, I don't understand that word. I have a lot of friends who are real video game, they're experts. They study, they don't turn the video game and they play. They actually study it. They know the history. They go to those little electronic conventions where they talk with other people, things like that. So they're very big. They're also big comic books. They know all the superheroes and stuff. So whenever I have it, they tell me they're not like what you expect because I know on television and the media that they put stereotypes, that they're very antisocial. They're very, not normal people. But I have a friend. He's a manager. I don't know if you ever heard of this in the city, Trader Joe's.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
a manager out there at Stonestown, that area. So and he lives in that area of the city. He's married to this beautiful, attractive Japanese woman. She's more of that stuff. So because he married her, she taught him all that video game stuff. And hey, when you're married to your spouse, they'll teach you stuff and things like that. So he is an example, but he's not antisocial. Has a real job, all that 401ks. But yeah, when it comes to those funny jokes, he knows all of that stuff. So anyway, Damian Lee says Shifty. The difference is Drake. Yep. Drake Jackson.
He's
I
been
think he
okay.
also
Yeah.
had a sack. I got to go back to the but I saw him play. I saw him play, and I think that's really good. And give him some snaps, get him some snaps. Like when Bosa needs some rest or when Abucom, play the kid. And I would also try him at linebacker because he has some linebackers, but I think they really want him to be an edge rusher. Damian Lee says, my question is, would you promote D'Amico to coach and let Kyle go? What are your thoughts about Damian Lee's comment?
I don't think so. Um, yeah, I don't think I would do that. But I mean, the thing is, like, I have to kind of think about it, but I ultimately would say probably not. Um, if you think about it, like we've been able to find these guys pretty well in terms of defensive coaches. Like when we brought in Robert Sala, no, he wasn't really a huge name. Then we, became a head coach. Then for years, we had, D'Amico Ryan's in the building, and now he's a great coach, and he'll be a head coach sooner rather than later. But I don't know. I kind of, if I had to guess what happens, is I wouldn't be surprised if our old friend, our old defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, gets a phone call
Mm.
and is like, hey, Vic, do you want a job with the 49ers defensive coordinator? You got to run this scheme, but hey, he's been around. Vic Fangio's obviously been around for a long time. So that is my kind of like loose prediction of what I think will happen.
Mhm.
But we'll see. I mean, maybe D'Amico does the same thing as last year, and I'll hope and pray that he does this. He's like, maybe I need another year to think about it. And I'll be like, yeah, D'Amico, come back. We'll make you the
Yeah.
highest paid defensive coordinator. But we'll see. I mean, I think he's going to be gone, though, just because he's so good.
Let's see. J.R. Meadow says number one defense all season. I'm going to
100%.
agree. I like J.R. Meadow always with great insights. Great insights. All right, so guess who's in the building? Apparently, I think you're doing a show with them. Let the fans know. Yeah.
Yeah, later tonight at 6 o'clock.
All right, so I will
It's
be
been quite a
there.
long time since I've been on since I've
Mhm.
had a discussion with CG. So looking forward to it.
So CG says Salah could be fired next year. Who knows? And I don't think Robert Salah is going to get fired this year. I think
Mm.
maybe next year, because you always want to give a head coach 3 years, okay? And if you're going to be very generous, maybe a fourth year. But say like a weird situation happens, and the owner's like, I'm sorry, Salah, and say D'Amico leaves. You do know Kyle's first phone call is, "Come back, Robert Salah, come back." So, so that'll be fun. But
I think
but one
he's
thing I
good.
will say this, like worst case scenario, like if D'Amico leaves, I would promote Chris Kasarik as defensive coordinator because since he's been with the Niners, the defensive line has never been the problem. The defensive line, even in the 2020 season, the defensive line was never the problem. So I would do that. But it's sad that when your coaches do good, teams are gonna poach them away. It's part of the NFL. No Cap says, you think Vic Fangio takes over as defensive coordinator with D'Amico? And Shifty already answered that question. He said yes. But if you want to answer the question again, feel right ahead.
I think he does. He was at training camp, Vic Fangio. I think there was reports that during training camp or OTAs or something that Vic Fangio was kind of hanging out in the building. So clearly there's like a relationship there. And so I think it could definitely happen. I don't see why not. It comes down to if Vic Fangio would want to come back, but in order for him to come back, I think he would basically, whether I'm sure like in the interview process, he would have to essentially show that he's like, hey, he can run the scheme that we've drafted all these players for. But Vic Fangio's been a defensive guy for probably like 30 years now. So I don't think I don't think it would be a huge adjustment for him. Plus, to me, I think Chris Kasarik or however you pronounce his name, if we pay him to be the highest paid position coach, I mean, he'd be able to help out, and we can bring in assistant coaches too to help Vic Fangio. But I think it would be a good backup option if D'Amico, or I should probably say when D'Amico leaves in the offseason.
Yeah. And CG actually brought a good point. He says, no cap, it's possible we might have to change to a 3-4. And I don't think the Niners want to do that.
No.
Like, and a lot of people don't understand, these numbers 3-4-4-3. The great, the best coaches during NFL history has always done 4 defensive linemen, 2 interior, 2 outside, because that's a really good defensive scheme. Now, it doesn't mean that 3-4 is horrible, because some coaches are better at the 3-4, basically one nose tackle. So you cannot draft defensive tackle. You have to draft a nose tackle. Okay. That's one thing about Solomon Thomas when we drafted him. He was supposed to be an edge rusher. He was not an edge rusher. They put him as a defensive tackle. He did not do that. They put him as a nose tackle, but we did not have the scheme. So when he got his sacks, it was because he was in the middle, when there was an extra linebacker at the front. So when it comes to 3-4, you need to have defensive ends. So you're not rushing. You're basically having your outside linebackers edge rushers. That's why our linebackers are not edge rushers. Samson Ebukam was outside. That's why his first year it didn't work out, because he did not know how to rush from the edge, from the line to gain. So it's very, very tricky. And of course, I know people are going to disagree with me. I don't know if you're going to disagree with me, but I don't know how the relationship has repaired itself, because this offseason, Vic Fangio was in Levi's talking to the coaches. Jed York was, okay with it, but time does heal everything. But I don't know if he wants to come back here. And I know he's been away from the team for about a decade now. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't get Vic Fangio, and no disrespect, but I would promote from within, because when Robert Saleh left, we promoted D'Amico. If D'Amico leaves, we'll probably promote one of the coaches. And I think Kursuric will be here with the Niners for a long time. I don't think he's going to be a game changer. But at the end of the day, we'll see what happens. I could be wrong. So that's just my thoughts about that. Bring back Harbaugh and put Kyle as OC. Yeah, Harbaugh is never coming back. He's never coming back. But it's just sad that the front office could not get along with them. And again, like Jed York and Bulky just could not get along with them. But I think York should have fired Bulky, and Harbaugh could have brought in his general manager, where he can tell the general manager what to do. Because, yeah, I think after the 2010 season, I think they should have fired Bulky, brought in Harbaugh, asked Harbaugh who he wanted to bring in. And here's a funny thing, hypothetical. I could be wrong. What if he would have brought David Shaw to be his scouting general manager, because he took over the head coaching job? That could have been something. So we could have had Shaw as a scout, but his title would have been general manager, and they were both with a scout. I think it would have been really great, in my opinion. But again, it's a lot of hypotheticals. All right. Oh, I forgot to read. Fia Lewis says, we are perfectly fine with 3-4. CG says, solely, it's unlikely with Vic Fangio's 3-4. We don't do anymore. I prefer Zurich. Wonderful. And Damian Lee says, Rudy just stated we had no line and wait, hold on. Rudy just stated we had no line and we are acting like, okay, whatever. All right. Okay, now here's a fun question I wanted to ask Shifty, because this is Talanoa Fungus, his final stat numbers: 4 tackles. He had 1 sack, which was kind of weird. But yeah, he did sack the quarterback 1 time. 1 pass deflection, the interception, and of course the touchdown was a 52-yard return. So my question to Shifty is, and I don't know if you think I'm a little bit nuts for asking this question, is Ufunga the second best or the best player? So is he number 1 or number 2, or where would you rank Ufunga? Because he's been the best defensive player so far. So I want to get your thoughts on that.
I think it's really between Hufunga and Bosa. I think it has to come down between those two guys. I'm gonna very slightly give the edge to Bosa, but ever so slightly give the edge to Bosa, just because, I mean, he disrupts the passing game so much. Bosa also very strong against the run, but teams have to constantly throw like two or even three guys at Nick Bosa just to slow him down. So I'm gonna say that Hufanga is number two on the team, but it's pretty darn close. He's playing really, really well. Obviously the interception against the Bears week one, the pick six that's sealed the game on Monday Night Football. Against the Seahawks, he had the big tip, which led to the Tashawn Gibson interception. Hufanga's had a bunch of tackles for losses and made some really nice plays overall. But just based on everything, I'll just have to give it to Bosa. But if someone wants to make an argument for it that Hufanga has been the best, then I'm not going to call them crazy or anything, but I would lean towards Bosa just a little bit. That's just my thoughts. And then, if it comes down to it, like some other guys have played really well. I mean, if you want to take it like a step further, I would say that probably Charvarius Ward has been the third best player on the defense. But I would say Hufanga is number two.
All right. Sorry about that. I wanted to put something I found this morning. It's from CBS Sports. So let me bring it up. So while I'm bringing up that stat, if we did not have Bosa, I would say that he would be the number one defensive player. Like when you look at the defense, like this is the thing about the defense that a lot of people forget. And a lot of, and no disrespect, but I have to say this because, and again, this has nothing to do with the 49er fans, but we've had some trolls and some, uneducated football fans who are not 49er fans. And they have been, saying, oh, just because you have, a good defense doesn't mean, this good defense is good, But I wanted to bring this up and to show it to everyone. And I'm going to explain what this means. So just give me a second for it to pull up. All right. There it is. So this is from CBS Sports Twitter. And it says right here, Nick Bosa. In 4 games, he has 6 sacks. He's ranked number 1 in the NFL. 16 quarterback hits, number 1 in the NFL. Pressures, 30, number 1 in the NFL. Pressure rate, 26 out of the entire defense. So I wanted to bring that up to show that for people who continue to doubt Bosa, Bosa is a talent on his own. He's a talent on his own. Just like Trent Williams is a talent on his own. Like there's no other Trent Williams in the NFL. What about Bakhtiari? No, Trent Williams. When it comes to Nick Bosa, what about Myles Garrett and those other guys? Doesn't matter. Nick Bosa is the best defensive line player in the NFL. So when I look at Talanoa Hufanga, he's been playing really, really good. And imagine if he was able to start last year and get game reps, what he could have been doing this year. His numbers would have been way, way better. So let's look at it. In just one game. Now, he's done really well. I don't have his entire full numbers. 4 tackles, 1 sack, 1 pass deflection, when he bats the ball away from a receiver. 1 interception, the famous interception, which led to a touchdown, 52-yard return. Talanoa Hufanga was the best player. No disrespect to Bosa, but he was the best player on the field for that game. Now, just because I say that does not mean, nothing disrespect to Nick Bosa. That's why I showed what I showed. You got Fred Warner. Why do we call him All-Pro Fred? Why do we call him All-Pro Fred? Because he was a Pro Bowler, okay? First team Pro Bowler, okay? And then you look at the pieces around him. Those other players individually on like very awful teams would be good players. So it's just sad that the defense has so many stacked players. And that's why I felt that this was a good question. So I want to ask the fans what they think about Talanoa Hufanga. So let's go in the chat and see what they're saying. All right, here we go. All right, give me a second. We got a bunch of comments that I missed. All right. Crazy Juice from our last segment, Harbaugh. All right. All right. CG says realistically, number 2, Bosa at his high could be defensive player of the year. And hopefully they don't snub about again. I don't want to talk about this, but the NFL has a bit of a bias. I'm not gonna say why, but there is a bias with their. All right. Crazy Juice says, as for right now, Ufunga is the second best player on the team. Samson Ebukam is a sleeper. Could be cashing in big. I don't think so. He's not led up to expectations. The Rams fan says, "Yo." Damian Lee says, "Uneducated the Rams." Wow. All right. Really? Oh my goodness. I don't know why he keeps saying that. You know what? Forget. I'm not even gonna read it. I'm just every time he says I'm not gonna read it. CG says Dre Greenlaw is having a good year. I'm glad we extended him for 2 more years. Definitely true.
He's bounced back big time. After I thought week 1, I mean, he was horrible week 1, but he's bounced back big time and he's been really good.
All right, so now we come to our final segment. It is the 49ers Panthers preview, what to expect. So a lot of people know that in just a few days, I can't believe tomorrow is Friday already, and we just played a game on Monday. These short weeks, they really fly by quickly. So the 49ers are going to be hosted by the Carolina Panthers. So let's preview the matchup, what to expect, Shifty. So what are your previews? What are your expectations for this game? Let me know. So talk about the game.
Sure. Well, the offense, of course, it goes through Christian McCaffrey. He accounts for about 40% of their entire yards. So, of course, we know he can run the ball very well, but also in the receiving game, too. I think he's maybe number 3, third receiver in terms of yardage for the Panthers. So got to stop him. They do have some really nice weapons. I like DJ Moore a lot, really fast player. So that's something to keep an eye on. Robbie Anderson, decent receiver as well. So they have some pieces there. Of course, they're having a lot of issues with quarterback. They're thinking of maybe benching Baker Mayfield, and now he has to go up against the best defense in football. So that's going to be tricky for him. I think this is a game where it's really big if Kinlaw and Armstead can play, because they're going to try and run the football with McCaffrey. So if we can shut him down in the run game, that gives us a great opportunity for sure. Defensively, they have a pretty darn good secondary. They have a lot of really good players. Their secondary has played well this year, so let's not overlook them by any means. And Brian Burns, the pass rusher, man, he is special player. Derek Brown in the middle is really good. Brian Burns, and the big matchup that I'm going to be looking at, Brian Burns against Jalen Moore, because Jalen Moore is going to be starting at left tackle. So he's had some ups. I think he played pretty well when he came in for McKivitz against the Rams, but before that, we saw he was awful against the Broncos and in preseason. So that's going to be a big matchup that I'm going to keep an eye on. But I think if the 49ers just got to, play our sound football, Jimmy, no stupid mistakes, take what the defense gives them, get the run game going, quick passes to Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, let them do their thing after the catch. Defense, couple of turnovers, don't give up much points, special teams, no missed field goals. And I think that we should come away with a win against the Panthers. But as we see it every single week in the NFL, you can never take any team lightly. No game is a gimme by any means. All these guys, the Panthers have a lot of actually really quality players too. So, but I think if the 49ers do what they got to do, they should come away with a win.
Yeah. And shout out to Daniel Berry. And you know what? It's probably going to be mandatory every time he says this to drop a super chat, because I'm trademarking that. I'm tired of people taking my lines. So I'm going to start saying, if you're not a 49er, the 49er faithful, they can say it as much as they want. You can say it, Shifty. But I'm going to start, having tell people, if you're going to be saying it, because I started that. Nobody uses it on the 49. I'm the only one who uses it. Anyway. But thank you very much for the $1 donation. I might start charging them $5 anyway. Daniel Berry says, thoughts on Draymond Green?
Oh, they look
Wow,
good.
I think I
Yeah.
know why he said that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I mean, we know how passionate Draymond is, and I think it's better that it's happening now than in the playoffs. So, but these guys, I think they were both in good spirits afterwards and joking around, and yeah, the Warriors are in for a good year.
Yeah. As a longtime Warrior fan, I'm going to say this, and Shifty, you're probably going to get mad at me. Draymond Green is a good defensive player. The problem is that he does have character issues, and a lot of Warrior fans are just they forget that he's been part of the dynasty. We do forgive him for some of the stuff. I don't know if you watched the parade where he was saying f the other teams, cursing at them, saying profanity because that's who he is. He does get away with some of the stuff, and if I was Steve Kerr, I'm like, all right, I get it. You're passionate, but guess what? You're being paid a lot of money. Have some professionalism, and he does get away with it. I do disagree with Charles Barkley. I don't think he's a dirty player. It's just that uh, the way he plays is just so physical, and occasionally he does tie up and get hurt and hurt other players because again the way he plays. But I think he does get a bit of a leeway because of Warrior fans. And again, I don't want to single anybody out, but there are a lot of Warrior fans who just want to support the team because they were old Laker fans. And they want to support the Warriors because their Lakers are trash. Anyway, I'm sorry about that. Anyway, Fialua says low scoring game. Panthers have a decent defense. Niners
Agreed.
24. Also, you're saying that the Panthers are better than the Rams. Damn. Damn. All right. CG, hold on. CG says, have a great day. Good stream as always, John. See you Shifty later. And I think this is a good time to say this because we've been actually over an hour. It's time for us to thank Shifty for always being on the show. Every time he's on it, it's always a pleasure. It's an honor for me to have him in here because he's the only content creator who wants to be on this show, feature on this show on a weekly basis. I've reached out to a lot of other people. People have schedules, I get it, but Shifty, you have broken the records. No one's going to ever beat you. But let the fans know one last time. This is your 2 minutes. Let the fans know who Shifty is and where they can find you.
Shifty 49ers talk right here. 49ers content creator on YouTube. And yeah, I put out videos every week. Things are actually going to really lighten up at work for me. So I'm looking to put out a lot more content throughout the week between games. Of course, my favorite thing to do is to stream the games live, excuse me. And that's always a lot of fun. So, whenever anybody comes by, it's a lot of fun. I get super animated. I'm, just like I think like most people, like very passionate about the 49ers. And so it's a really, really fun time. I love all the people who stop by. But yeah, my goal is just to, talk about my passion about the team. And then I also have a Twitter, which is just Shifty 49ers Talk, and Instagram, same thing right there. And honestly, it really does. I mean, I want to say thank you to John Jay for having me on. It's always a good time, talking with someone who, is as passionate about the team, if not more, someone who's really dedicated and, yeah, just really loves talking 49er football. And I also want to give a little shout out to my boy, John Reed in here. He's always in the stream. Bang, bang, Niner gang. And definitely looking to get another win this week. But I appreciate anyone who comes by the channel, watches the videos, supports in any way. It really does mean a lot. So thank you.
Yeah. And also, just like my channel, eventually at the top corner, I'm going to have a little challenge for me. So I'm going to let Shifty know. Maybe he can spread the word. I'm trying to have 2K subs by the end of the year. And Shifty, if you can spread the word on your social medias and whenever you can, the 2K challenge. If we get to 2K by the end of the year, Shifty, you can be part of it. I'm doing 10 giveaways. So Shifty, tell your fans, let them know that they can win big prizes. We have basically 5 little prizes 3 medium prizes, and 2 mega prizes. So, but we got to get shifty. Hashtag 700 because you're getting closer to that 700. So let's get shifty by the end of the month, by the start of November, 700 subs, and try to get my channel to 2,000. If we get past that before the end of the year and we get to 2.5K, I will do 15 giveaways. So spread the word, Shifty, that John Jay, only content creator that actually wants to give his fans great stuff. So wanted to say that. So spread the word, and also let's get Shifty to 700 by the end of the month. Anyway,
do it.
But with that said, I'm John Jay. This is the 49ers Ultimate Report. You have a good rest of your day.